Today on the Eurostep.
The Warriors, a game away from glory.
Colangelo is out of Philadelphia.
And is DeAndre Ayton going number one? Hi, I'm Oisin Brown and this is the Eurostep on CRC. Today I'm joined by Cillian Loftus.
Yeah.
And Alex Evans.
Alan Iverson's 43 and Drake still hasn't responded.
That's sad, man. That's sad.
Ripped straight from purse sources.
Started us on a downer, man. That's not good.
On a downer browner.
Yeet.
Yeet.
Spaghetti.
So, Game 3 of the NBA Finals happened on Wednesday night. And there's no better way to start than to talk about KD's monster game. He had 43 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. LeBron did his thing for the Cavs with 33, 10 and 11. A surprise performance from Rodney Hood. He had 15 points and 6 rebounds. But I suppose even bigger surprise was how bad Steph Curry played. He had 11 points, but he shot 19% from the field, 10% from 3. Statistically, this is his worst playoff game ever. But the Warriors still pulled through by 7. And you'd have to say this series probably won't go back to Oracle, Alex.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. Kevin Durant, just what a phenomenal performance, obviously, with that 43 points. Just completely putting the team on his back, getting big baskets when it mattered the most. 65% from the field, 67% from 3 and 100% from the free throw line is just absurd. So efficient, just every time he got the ball, every time he shot it, it just seemed to be money. With the clutch 3 down the stretch as well, to put them up by 6 was sort of a dagger, really put the game away. But just to go back on Steph Curry, he only had 11 points. Himself and Klay Thompson combined for a very measly 21 off some very poor shooting from the field and from 3. But Curry arguably hit one of the most important shots of the game. He hit one 3-pointer, but that was down the stretch on a fast break pull-up. Kevin Durant would agree. He said that Steph Curry's 3 was the most important shot. That, I believe, put them ahead by 1 down the stretch before obviously another basket led to KD's big dagger. So when it really mattered, Steph Curry was there, but they didn't need Curry. He only took 10 shots compared to, I believe, 17 threes in game 2 when he was hot. But Durant was just so good. They could just do everything through Durant. The kind of ISO ball that they were starting to play just worked phenomenally.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Curry, you said, came up clutch, definitely. He doesn't get the respect he deserves for how clutch he really is. He has a label as a choker, and that's really not the case. He just doesn't have the chance to show up in clutch moments. But this was the game of Kevin Durant. It was absolutely amazing, and I've found it kind of funny to see how all of a sudden every Warriors fan loved all the ISO ball that Kevin Durant was playing in Game 3 after slewing him for it for the last 2 series. But that's how it goes. He had 43, absolutely amazing game. The Cavs as a whole played really well. You have to give them credit for that. LeBron obviously did his thing, 33-point triple-double, but he got some good help. Kevin Love, 20 and 13. J.R. Smith was sober tonight with 13 points, and you mentioned Rodney Hood showed up. You know, he hasn't gotten much opportunity, but when he got it, he took it with 15 points and 6 rebounds. As a whole, Golden State have said that they want to finish this in Cleveland. They want to sweep them out, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. You know, most of Golden State didn't play very well. Klay and Curry were absolutely terrible. And it's very hard to see anything past 4 games at this point.
And especially after last year, when they were down 3-0, the Cavs, they were kind of looking back to the previous year where no team had ever come back from 3-1, and they were kind of thinking it's the same thing on the cards. And obviously they stole Game 4 before losing in 5. But I don't think the same thing is on the cards even this year. I don't see them being as inspired for Game 4 as they might have been last year, looking to see the positives. This is 2 games now, Game 1 and Game 3 respectively, where they have in very good contention to win the game. They were tied at halftime, I believe, if not very close. The Cavs kind of dominated most of the first half, and then again the third quarter really kind of set the two apart. Cleveland made it close again in the fourth, but just couldn't pull it out. I think a lot of that is down to LeBron. I know 33, 10, 11 looks like a fantastic game, and it is. He shot the ball decently well, 46% from the field, but down the stretch he wasn't as aggressive as he should have been. He shot 6 threes and only made the 1. When his shot is open, or when his shot is going in, he kind of opens up the game a lot more. He can space the floor more. He's more dangerous. But a lot of that he did in the first half are kind of trying to keep up in the third quarter. He wasn't as aggressive as he should have been. He should have really taken over down the stretch, especially in that fourth, when Durant also did it on the other side.
You could definitely pin that down to fatigue, though, I'd say. He played 47 minutes in Game 3, which is absolutely crazy. The next closest was, I believe, 34 from Tristan Thompson. And he's played minutes like these all playoffs long. He's played outrageous minutes. And we've seen it, especially in the Celtic series. There was points where he was out of breath, hands on his knees, really, trying to get a rest. And we've seen it a lot with LeBron. A lot of times he loses aggression towards the end of a game, or just in general he's not as aggressive. And I definitely think that could be down to fatigue and how tired he must be after a full series, putting this team on his back. Not full series, full season of putting this team on his back and carrying them to where they are now.
From, I suppose, the series, definitely this game, you'd say Cleveland aren't shooting the ball that bad, but you have to look at their defence as the reason why they're losing these games. Just in this last game, the Warriors shot 52% from the field. That is their best ever percentage in Cleveland in the last 4 finals. And I suppose you look at these players for Cleveland, they may not be playing, they're not replacing Kyrie, but they're all getting in around 10 points, and they're doing better. They're certainly playing their best basketball they've played since they joined Cleveland, the newer players anyway. But it doesn't really matter when they're just letting easy shots in at the defensive side.
Yeah, I think Max Kellerman said it best. This team in the regular season was an F for defense, and in the playoffs they've improved to a C, which isn't good enough. We've kind of debated about them being the greatest, but they're probably the greatest offensive team without a question. Most people kind of agree that they're the best offensive team we've ever seen in the NBA. Just especially when they've got that kind of death lineup, the Hamptons 5 in, anyone can score the ball. I mean, when you're wondering why Ty Lue might not have been trapping Kevin Durant, it's because they could have gone to Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, or Andre Iguodala, who would have been wide open as well. They're just so dangerous. And yes, Cleveland aren't a great defense, but there isn't a whole lot you can do against Golden State's offense.
Yeah, it's just a difference between Kyrie Irving and a guy like J.R. Smith. While neither are good on defense, Kyrie Irving's elite offensively, isolation, in team, pick and roll, whatever it is. J.R. Smith's a shooter. On his night, he's one of the best scorers in the league, but he's very streaky and inconsistent. That's the difference. They were never really great on defense, but they had so much offensive power. It didn't matter, really. They could make up for that, similar to Houston, but just not on the same level. Now, their only real offensive threats consistently, I'd say, is LeBron James, Kevin Love to an extent, but he's a bit inconsistent this year. It's just the difference. They're bad defensively either year, but they have nowhere near the offensive firepower they had in years past.
Going back to what you said there, Alex, about they could have trapped KD, but they didn't. They did trap Steph Curry, and that's why Steph Curry, statistically anyway, he played so bad, and that's why KD had so much space to operate. He had little or no difficulty getting those points, but Steph Curry was locked down, and I suppose that just symbolises everything that is good about Golden State. You can do everything you can to try and stop them, but you can only really stop 1, maybe 2 players, and everyone can shoot the ball in that team, and that's why they're so good.
Yeah, if you let Curry make one shot, it could be game over for you, night out. He can go off for 10 threes on any given night you want, and I think they'd rather take the risk of Kevin Durant having 40 and still having a close game rather than Curry just completely demoralising you with a near 30-point quarter.
Yeah, like we saw, especially in Game 2, there was times where it didn't even matter what they did to Steph Curry, like the possession on Kevin Love, where Steph Curry was a good 6 to 7 steps behind the 3-point line, trading away at the buzzer and just nothing but net. That's just a completely demoralising. Durant is not kind of the same. He might pull up over your guy and hit a contested mid-range, but you live with those shots. When Curry gives 3 points, and especially the whole team goes wild in the bench, they get rallied behind Curry. Durant isn't really the kind of, he doesn't have the same effect. Obviously down the stretch when you hit that big dagger, it's different, but Curry just kind of gets the whole team going, and then because he's such a great playmaker as well. When his shot is going, it opens up everything. The ball is in his hands. He can make more plays, whether that be driving to the rim, because we know he's one of the better finishers. He's a fantastic shooter, probably the best of all time, and a very underrated playmaker as well.
Just finally on this game, going back to what Rodney Hood did, is certainly a surprise anyway. After barely playing in these playoffs, we thought he wasn't going to get his chance, but he did get his chance, and he showed I suppose a lot of what he did back in Utah, and I suppose looking towards the future for Hood anyway, whether his future lies in Cleveland or elsewhere, that will certainly up his stock a bit, and his own I suppose his own confidence in himself.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Rodney Hood play well last game. I'm a fan of his game, and it's really hard to see a guy like that, barely playing, and when he does get the chance, he's not doing anything. So I was definitely happy to see that. He put up, 15 points, very efficient shooting, 7 for 11, one of the biggest stages in the world. Is definitely up in his stock, whether the future lies in Cleveland or somewhere else, like you said. He'll definitely get a chance somewhere in the future, hopefully, to maybe be one of the main pieces on a young team and see what he can do.
And definitely for Game 4, this is do or die for Cleveland. I think you give him a lot more, responsibility out there, whether that start him over J.R. Smith or if that is to bring him off the bench and kind of have him as that spark. He shot very well, 7 for 11, 64%, and just in that third quarter when Golden State were coming up big, Hood kind of put in some big buckets, that was kind of getting to the rim, hitting mid-range shots, doing a little bit of everything. But one thing I would like to see the Cavs kind of change for Game 4 is Kyle Korver. He played 10 minutes, didn't score, shot 4 shots, 2 threes. They're not setting up for Korver. There's no action for him to get his open shots. So if you're not going to run action for him, then what's the point in playing 10 minutes? Because when he does get in there, he'll just stand in the corner, maybe run around. Golden State are defending him very easily because there's no action being running for him. And yes, it's great that Rodney Hood got his opportunity, but it meant Jordan Clarkson missed out. So I think just take Kyle Korver out of the rotation completely if you're not going to use him, and then play Jordan Clarkson, because they need the playmakers in there. Because when we've seen the offense can go a bit dead for the Cavs at time, give it to LeBron and try and let LeBron do something. Rodney Hood showed his ability last night to just take the ball and make a play himself, whether that be through a pick and roll or just a straight up ISO. Jordan Clarkson has the same kind of abilities as Rodney Hood, and if you play them together in the backcourt off the bench, I think that could be a good move. If not, and if it doesn't work out, you're not winning the series anyways.
Yeah, definitely. They either need to not play Korver at all or give him the chances he needs. It's just like you said. They're not running the usual pin downs for him, kind of off-ball screens, floppy sets that usually get him his open shots from 3, from mid-range, whatever it is. And you could just say stand him in the corner, but if he's doing nothing, he's not going to be guarded too tightly. You might as well have a guy like Rodney Hood or Jordan Clarkson on who can make their own shot, make some plays when Kyle Korver is just a shooter. Either way, you're not getting a great defender on the court, so why not just have the guy who can make his own shot if you're not going to kind of give chances to the guy who's an absolute lock or an absolute sniper from 3.
Moving on. Chetty Osman's got to play.
Exactly.
Of course. The first Chetty.
Rookie of the year.
When that kind of first team, when they brought in all them new guys, their first game was against the Boston Celtics in Boston. It was a close game, and Chetty Osman played that game along with Rodney Hood, and Jose Calderon played because I believe George Hill was injured. Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, all the guys played. Chetty Osman played pretty well, so I don't see why I wouldn't give him a chance.
Bryan Colangelo has been he's resigned as a GM team president of the Philadelphia 76ers, and it's certainly been an interesting story over the past week or so. It was actually very interesting in a statement. He more or less threw his wife under the bus, as apparently it was her who had the burner accounts, but it still seemed as if she was getting classified information from Bryan Colangelo, and that is why he has been removed.
While I am grateful that the independent investigation conducted by the 76ers has confirmed that I had no knowledge of our involvement in the Twitter activity conducted by my wife, I vigorously dispute the allegation that my conduct was in any way reckless. Quote, Bryan Colangelo.
Well, there you go.
There you have it, folks.
Certainly very interesting. But what has surfaced after this is going to be so much more interesting. The fact that so many people want the GM job now at Philly because obviously they have such a bright future now. But I would like to see Sam Hinkie come back. I think that, he built this team. I think it's only fair that he should get the chance to bring them further again.
To an extent. I don't think the NBA would allow for that, though. They're not a big fan of Sam Hinkie and his ways, even though they wouldn't be tanking, obviously, but I just don't think they have a great relationship.
This is Sam Hinkie. Maybe he feels the process isn't quite complete yet. If LeBron James...
He's eyeing up LaMelo Ball in 2020.
If LeBron James does end up going to Golden State or Houston, Philly's going to need more, so Sam Hinkie might decide, you know what? Maybe this isn't the right core.
Maybe. But we could look at other GMs, but I don't think we really know that many that we could name off the top of our heads, so, there's no real point, is there?
No? Well,
hands down, the only other GM I know is Danny Ainge, so,
Pat Riley.
That's about it.
That's kind of sad. But,
Oh, thanks.
I
know the only one you need to know, not Pat Riley. Don't get ahead of yourself, Alex.
Wow. So, speaking of maybe LeBron James moving somewhere in the off-season, according to Stephen A. Smith, there are 7 teams that LeBron James is going to have a conversation with. That being his current team, Cleveland, the incoming champions, the Golden State Warriors, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, Houston Rockets, Los Angeles Lakers, and his former team, Miami Heat.
The Miami Heat.
Stop it.
Please, no. But I suppose more or less those teams that you see there are the teams you'd expect LeBron to go to. They are good situations, teams that are more or less ready to go now, and not much waiting around to do. So what do you make of this, Killian?
Well, I think we can cross one team off the list straight away. That's the Boston Celtics. It's not happening. Could you imagine, though, if LeBron James did go to Boston, how Kyrie Irving would feel? I think he'd be
What he's a man to
heartbroken.
trade, though.
That'd be absolutely crazy to see, but in terms of it,
I think
no
then
cap space.
if LeBron James did go to Boston, I think Boston would be in pretty good contention to have the best small forward depth in the NBA.
Oh yeah, hands down.
With LeBron James, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown all at the same position.
And Jesus Ojale, don't forget him.
He's a forward.
It's both. The Celtics, they play everywhere, but it's not happening. At least I don't think it's happening. Never rule out anything in the NBA, but
Especially when Danny Ainge is the GM.
yeah, especially. But it's just
sign
cap
and trade
space.
for a second round pick.
Trade for a second. Sign
Sign-
LeBron.
sign
Trade him
and
away for a second round pick. You got a free second round pick. Calling it now, it's going to happen. He's going to sign him and trade him away.
I don't think so.
I don't think
That
LeBron
would
will
be
sign a deal without a no trade clause.
Yeah, but he's just get traded for the memes for the second round pick. That's something Michael Jordan never did.
Get traded for the memes.
I don't think there were memes back then.
I think the rest of the teams, are fair. I think he has to look at Boston just because, if he is going to beat Golden State and if he is trying to pursue Michael Jordan's record of 6 rings, then you've got to look at the best. I mean, Kevin Durant did it. Why can't LeBron do it? I mean, it's not like the Celtics beat LeBron. LeBron technically is going to a worse team than his currently.
Technically.
Technically speaking.
On paper.
Yeah, but, hey, if Kevin Durant could go to Golden State, why can't LeBron,
But I know on ESPN recently, I believe, it was Vince Carter and others, don't tell me exactly who was on, but they believe that LeBron to Philadelphia is effectively off the paper now, with the Bryan Colangelo being go home, go bye-bye with the Twitter allegations. So,
I wouldn't say that'd be a problem though if they sign a GM that maybe
Mr. Hinkie
knows LeBron, or LeBron feels confident in. I know the starters through the name of David Griffin because
and
of
Rachel Nichols also said that as well on ESPN on the same show. Said they have a good relationship, and LeBron has mentioned him 3 times in the NBA Finals in his pressers.
Don't hit the table.
It sounded cool, I'll say. But I suppose the 2 teams most people have been talking about for the past season would be Philadelphia and the Lakers. But I suppose it wouldn't be too much of a surprise to see him go to one of the other teams in that list. I suppose the reason maybe Miami are 20-1 to win the championship is because the bookmakers certainly feel that there's a chance that LeBron goes back there and that they maybe put another star beside him.
Or they're just on crack, either one.
I mean, they did put Philly ahead of Boston, so
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but Pat Riley, I said before, has made it obvious that he just wants to go after another star. Obviously, if LeBron James is there and LeBron James wants to come back to Miami, everything will be done in his power for that to happen. And if your team does have LeBron James, your team is always within a good chance of winning the NBA Finals.
Yeah, if LeBron ever expresses interest in your team, you do everything you can to get him there. That just goes without saying. And Miami's a decently likely spot for LeBron to land. It's just they don't have the kind of win right now roster that other teams like Houston and that have.
The Heat right now are, they're a pretty good team, especially we saw the end of last year. They're effectively a bunch of role players that have come together. They don't really have an out-and-out star, someone that leads the team. It could be anyone could drop 20 points on any given night. I feel like it could be a good situation for LeBron to have all those role players, or it could be bad as well. We've seen with Cleveland, the team they have now. On paper, they're a good team. There's so many good players there, decent role players that, they look like they could be alright under the leadership of LeBron James. But they're not. They're just poor. They don't perform the same way. So I think there should be that fear that the same thing could happen in Miami.
But obviously there's a much better coaching situation in Miami. Comparing Coach Spoelstra to Coach Lue, you just can't.
It's debatable.
Come on.
I think Ty Lue does get too much stick, though. He's not that bad.
Yeah, he does get too much, but he's not good.
That was a great call last night playing Rodney Hood. I don't think anyone really expected that.
Yeah, but I suppose
look at their offense.
You can understand why it was done when Jordan Clarkson was underperforming, that he gave those minutes to Rodney Hood.
I suppose. But it's hard to look as well why he's not giving Kyle Korver the same opportunities he got throughout the whole regular season and in the Boston series as well.
He does one thing and he does another wrong. It's like, come
on. Just out of curiosity, as we've said, the Golden State Warriors are on this list. How would Golden State make a move for LeBron work? Obviously, look, if you have the chance to get LeBron, you're going to do whatever you can to make it work. But not that Golden State even need to, because they have the best team in the league anyway. But do they have to move players to get him?
They don't need LeBron. It's just they need LeBron not to be on Houston or another super team. That's all the Warriors need. But if it is to happen, that's the end of Andre Iguodala. That's the end of anyone on anything more than $6 million, which is effectively the rest of their team. They're going to sign LeBron and get everyone else on some vets minimums.
Or they could get LeBron on a vets minimum.
That's just not going to happen.
I think it's going to happen.
I mean, he could have taken a pay cut in Cleveland so they could sign another star. He didn't do that. He got players to return, and well, we know how that worked.
Look, it's going to happen. You don't have to doubt me like this.
But yeah, if they do get LeBron, there's a chance that either Draymond or Clay could be gone to free up some room as well. The touches won't be there, and I feel like Klay Thompson might not want to be there if LeBron is there as well. With Steph, LeBron, and KD, that's arguably the top 3 players in the league right now. I think for Klay Thompson as a player, money-wise, and as him as a player, I don't know if he wants to be there. He has the rings. He's going to get his 3rd ring this year. Maybe he felt he's done all he can in Golden State.
Right now, I've seen a lot of people say Klay Thompson isn't a Hall of Famer. I think that number might rise if LeBron James joins the Warriors and he turns down to the 4th option on offense in terms of shooting and scoring and that. So it's just not happening. I think was it Draymond Green who said this might have been like a meme, but he said like if LeBron comes to Golden State, I'm leaving.
That was a meme.
Okay.
That's one
I
of these
thought so, but
fake news.
I thought so, but I had to make sure.
Okay.
But still, I wouldn't be surprised if he thought like that. He just didn't say it.
Yeah,
This is Draymond.
I think it would be a fair statement to make that some of these players might want to leave. I don't think Curry or KD would leave because obviously, they still get the limelight that they have.
Curry's
now.
the best teammate in the NBA.
And, well, I mean, KD may have ruined his legacy by joining Golden State. I don't think he's going to leave now. And
I saw something very interesting though. It was KD. He went to Golden State. He got his 2 rings. Proved he's one of the best players and best scorers ever in the league right now and ever. Now it's time to go back to OKC or to another team to really prove himself.
He's not going to go to OKC until they get a new coach, and that's the long and short of it. He left because of Donovan. He's not coming back to Donovan under any circumstance, I think.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of OKC fans say, like on Instagram, Twitter, and that they wouldn't take KD. It's like, shut up, yeah, you would. A top 3 NBA player wants to come to your team. You're not going to say no just because he left you a few years back. It's the same with LeBron James to Cleveland. They hated him for 4 years. Then he wanted to come back, and he's like, yeah, sure, we'll take you back, LeBron. We need you.
Yeah, I'd love to see KD come back with Westbrook and Adams, and if Paul George is still there, but it's not going to happen until they get a new coach.
Might be able to buff his legacy a bit. He's 3rd all time in scoring titles. He might be able to move up to 2nd with Will Chamberlain, who has 7. It's not outrageous to get 3 more.
No, not when KD shoots the ball as well as he does. I only noticed now on this list there's one team who aren't there. San Antonio Spurs.
I swear to God, if you said the Clippers.
No,
Oshin mentioned the Clippers pre-recording, and me and Keelan kind of shut that down quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly. If you're going to LA, you're going to the Lakers.
It's just
about all there is to say.
Jerry West was, I have faith in him, but I don't think he can pull off that magic. But it's interesting to see that San Antonio Spurs aren't on that list because, solidly run franchise, best coach of all time, decent team. Obviously they're a much better team if Kawhi is on that team, and for LeBron that means he doesn't have to face up against Kawhi again if LeBron is there and Kawhi stays.
The LeBron stopper.
I mean, I think it'd be a brilliant move for him to go there if Kawhi stays. And look, we're not going to talk too much about Kawhi because
I don't know how those two would pair up. They're both kind of, I don't know, they're not fantastic shooters, so they're not going to, work together unbelievably well. They both kind of need the ball in their hands to make their offense work. We saw Kawhi with his offense, his kind of drive, and he showed his post game, especially last year. Lionel Mamba.
He definitely worked out with Kobe. It's not a question. What was it, like, first game of the season? And he had, like, ISO at the end of the... You worked out with
against
Kobe.
Against the Warriors, and there was one he came up and which way. And
come on, man.
It was a Kobe move.
You don't have to lie about it.
But, yeah, it's certainly interesting to see LeBron go there. But, I think we can leave LeBron for one more episode. I'm sure we'll be talking about him in damn near every episode we have over the summer. So, just... DeAndre Ayton worked out with the Phoenix Suns. He says, I know I'm going number 1.
So I'm not working out for any other teams.
Which is a bold statement to make, but I'd say he isn't pulling that out of his backside. I'm sure, if he's saying that, he knows they've told him. And would that be a fair statement to make?
Maybe. Alex was scrolling through the Phoenix Suns Twitter before this, and there was a lot of talk about how good the workout was from guys around the Suns organization, so he might just be confident.
Their GM said it was exactly what they expected.
Yeah, so he might have known, that was a great workout. I showed everything I can do, all my potential and all that, and he might just be thinking, like, there's no way they don't draft me now. After the workout he had, all he did in college, his potential and all that. It could just be that, but there is a pretty good chance that they said, we're drafting you. The Suns are in that power position where they have the first pick. They get to choose who goes first no matter what. No one can change that, so they could just have told him, we're drafting you. Nothing's changing.
And Ayton has shown great interest in the Suns, especially kind of having strong ties to that area. He went to college in Arizona. He's, the Suns have really been scouting him all year because of how close he is. And he's voiced his opinion about how he likes the Suns and how about going to the Suns. Him and Devin Booker could be that next kind of Kobe Shaq 2.0, which he has said on numerous occasions. And I think that might have got the Suns a little bit excited and just spilled out that they were going to draft him. I don't know.
Yeah, if they could get a player half as good as Shaq, I'm sure they'd be happy.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton looks like he's going number 1, but we have seen more surprising things happen in the draft. So speaking of the draft, we're going to continue our draft previews now, and today we're going to look at Collin Sexton. He is a guard from Mableton, Georgia. He went to Alabama.
Sweet home Alabama.
Brilliant. Sweet home.
So he averaged 19.2 points per game, just under 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, just under a steal off of just under 3 turnovers per game. How does he look for you, Alex, as a potential NBA player?
I'm not so sold on Collin Sexton. He looks great on paper. He's an extremely athletic guy. He's not the biggest. He's kind of listed about 6'2", 6'3", but a lot of people believe he's smaller than that, might be 6'1" or even 6 foot. ESPN, when they did their kind of mock-up, they had him as a kind of a mix between, he kind of has an Eric Bledsoe body, kind of broad-shouldered, small enough, physical guy. Kind of
Drew Bledsoe, you mean?
Russell Westbrook's mentality with just being an all-out, flat-out 100% guy, mixed with a little bit of Donovan Mitchell for the athleticism as well, and for his potential and his shooting potential. He is very athletic. He's so fast. He has great explosiveness and burst. His strength is another thing. He's a small guy, but when he gets into the lane, he likes to get low, get his shoulders in, and absorbs contact really well. One thing, he has great potential with that athleticism, because once he kind of taps into his defense, he's so fast, he's so quick, he has potential to be a great defender. And as well as that, he likes to get his own shot with his athleticism, but once he can kind of use that as a team and start to rack up the assists, a bit like Russell Westbrook, we've seen him do. So he has all the potential there, but we've seen so many guys like him over recent drafts, whether it be kind of De'Aaron Fox, Dennis Smith Jr., Frank, the French guy. Previous drafts, help me out here. There's so many athletic point guards that have all this potential and just haven't done a whole lot as of yet. Obviously, they're all still young guys and they could completely prove me wrong, but off the bounce, they haven't done anything out of this world, and I feel like the same might happen with Sexton.
Yeah, the kind of hyper-athletic guard is becoming more and more kind of obsolete in the NBA. They're still great players like your Westbrook, your John Walls, but they've all started developing jump shots and that kind of thing to cater to today's NBA, where shooting is so kind of heavily influenced. And you mentioned the guys like Fox, Smith Jr., Ntilikina, and now Collin Sexton. They're all going to have to do that, and Sexton doesn't have the greatest jump shot as of right now. Shot 45% from the field, not bad. 34% from college three is pretty bad.
On 4 attempts, but a very ugly jump shot. And his offense, his versatility isn't great because he needs the ball to muster up any sort of offense.
Yeah.
His shooting ability doesn't let him to play off ball.
From the point guard spot as well, you need that kind of jump shot to,
open up the whole offense.
Without a jump shot, pick and rolls are so heavily kind of influenced in the NBA today. Without a jump shot, it becomes pretty easy to guard a pick and roll. You just sag off. No switching. It's not that hard. So we will really have to improve on that, but it's definitely possible. We saw Jaylen Brown a few years ago shot 28% from 3 in college, and now he's an absolute sniper. So it's just a bit of hard work, determination.
I wouldn't say absolute sniper.
He shot 40% from 3 in the playoffs. Come on, he's a bit of a sniper now, but he definitely has that. We've seen as well, you mentioned his defense. He's a lot of potential on defense, but potential means nothing. We saw with Andrew Wiggins a few years ago in 2014. He came into the draft as a potential lockdown defender, and nowadays he's really not there. He's absolutely terrible on defense. Just because of athleticism, he was considered a decent defender. Hopefully it's not the same for Collin Sexton. Hopefully he can be a great defender, which is definitely possible because he's a great competitor, like you mentioned, like Russell Westbrook. He goes 100% all the time. I definitely think he can be a great defender in the NBA one day.
And also, when mentioning the Russell Westbrook comparison, it's fair, but he does at times, it is because of his inexperience as well, but he's got to mature quickly because a lot of the time his athleticism is kind of detrimental to the team. He'll go off and do something crazy and just give away a silly turnover. He needs to learn, to calm it down. He needs to, but that'll all come, of course, with NBA experience and whatever. But like compared to the rest of the guys at the top of the draft who look more kind of NBA ready, Collin Sexton does have a lot of work to do. But if he can do the right work, the potential is without question is there if he does it right and goes to a right team, right setup for him.
So yeah, where do you see Collin Sexton going? He seems to be hovering between 7 and 9 at the moment. So those picks are Chicago, Cleveland via Brooklyn, and the New York Knicks. So yeah, where do you see him going?
I think it all depends on where Trae Young falls to as well, because these are the two top point guards really in the draft.
After Luka Doncic.
It depends.
He's kind of a combo guard.
Depends where you think of Luka Doncic. But I think whoever gets Young, I think Sexton will go after Young. So it kind of relies on where Trae Young will fall as well, which is also kind of projected to be that area. But I think the Chicago Bulls at pick 7 is kind of might be a good fit for him, because straight off the bat, I think he'd be better coming off the bench. And obviously in Chicago they've got Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine, who they're kind of set at their backcourt. If Sexton could just kind of fit in there off the bench, bring a little explosion off the bench, give them some energy, that could be good for them. And he won't be too heavily relied on to do a lot on offense, because we've seen he isn't all there on offense yet. So that little explosion, I said, off the bench might really help them.
Maybe, but I definitely think Chicago would be more inclined to take a centre, and there's an absolute, collection of them in this draft. But if the opportunity presents itself, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just they need that centre. You can't have Robin Lopez forever. If you look down one spot, Cleveland, they wouldn't necessarily be focused on a point guard, I'd say. They're more just trying to get someone they can build a team around. A lot of their younger guys are more towards the kind of bad side of 20, like Rodney Hood and Jordan Clarkson. I believe they're 25 and 26 respectively. So they're not the youngest guys you want to be building around. So that's definitely a likely spot. Then you look at New York. They already have Frank
Ntilikina.
And they've expressed their interest for Trae Young, so if Trae Young is available.
If you're comparing Collin Sexton to Frank and then Trae Young to Frank, Collin Sexton and Frank are nearly the exact same player, even though they're nothing alike to an extent. But compared to Trae Young, they're nearly the same. They're definitely going to be going after Trae Young, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them take Collin Sexton. And I don't think he'll go down to Philadelphia. I think that's too far. And even if he did fall there, they're not going to take him because they have so many guards in Philly with Simmons, Fultz, McConnell, Timothy Luwawu, even though he could be considered more of a wing. But in general, it's looking like New York or Cleveland for me.
I think it is possible that he kind of falls towards the bottom of the lottery, because the first kind of 5 picks, 5 to even 6, they're almost set. We don't know who's going where exactly, but between big men, between all the guys we've mentioned before, they're kind of they're going to go up there. But as we've mentioned, he might not be the greatest fit. Chicago might want to take their center. Cleveland might be looking elsewhere. New York, if Trae Young is available, they already have Frank. Philadelphia, maybe not. Then after that, you're looking 11, 12, or 13 with Charlotte and 2 Los Angeles picks.
Charlotte's interesting. They might be looking into trading Kemba Walker this off-season so they could take Collin Sexton as his replacement to build around the guys like Malik Monk and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. It could be interesting to see. Not much shooting going on there.
But I definitely think if he falls that far to 11 or even to LA, I think they'll feel like they got a great deal, great value for their money, especially down there.
Projected top 9 pick down at 12 or 13 is pretty impressive for Los Angeles, so I think definitely 12, 13 is the furthest he'll fall, definitely. He's definitely going lotto, I'd say.
Yeah, going back on what you said, I don't see him going to New York. I mean, I think he could more or less go to any other team, but he's really just Frank, but worse at defence.
To an extent.
To an extent, of course, but he's probably one of the, out of those teams, he's, like for like really with Frank, unless they intend on trading one of them straight off the bat. But look, someone could get a really good bargain down past that 10 between Charlotte, the 2 LA picks, and if it comes to that, Denver, I'm sure they'd take him. Obviously, if he goes down that far, even, he may not be the perfect fit.
Be the Moutier replacement. That's another guy. Emmanuel Moutier.
Yeah, so he's definitely not going to New York.
New York have Moutier. Yeah, he's not going to New York. Yeah. Just realised that.
Damn. Sorry, Collin Sexton, if we've done you wrong, but sure. I'm sure you're not listening. So that's about it for today. Make sure to check out Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight.
Live streamed on the YouTube channel.
So thanks to CRC for the studio. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. We are Team Eurostep on social media. We're that username on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We're also Team Eurostep on Patreon, so if you enjoy our content, please donate a couple of quid.
And by the time you've seen this, I hope you enjoyed the NBA season.
True, to be fair.
Yeah, it's the Warriors' time now again, and please don't go there, LeBron. So that's about it for today's episode. Until next week, it's going to be a goodbye from Gillian, a goodbye from Alex, and a goodbye from myself. Until next self.